Final exam review number 1. Question number 1. Solve z squared plus 18z plus 6 equal negative 26. We need to get this equation so that it is equal to 0. So I'm going to move negative 6 to the left side. So I'm going to do the opposite, plus 26 plus 26. This cancels out, it becomes 0. So you have z squared plus 18z plus 32. I can factor this. So I factored a z plus 16 and z plus 2. Set it equal to 0. Set both of these equal to 0 over here. So you'll solve it and get z by itself. And z is negative 16 and negative 2. Don't forget to go back and check, plug it in, substitute to make sure that it works. Question number 2 asks you to solve. So I will bring this over equal 81. Add 81 to both sides so I can make this equal to 0. So then I notice that I cannot factor this. So I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So the quadratic formula says that you're going to use a, b, and c, but it needs to be equal to 0. So a is 1, the coefficient in front of z squared is 1, negative 6, and then positive 90. So here is my quadratic formula. I'm going to plug in my numbers. So it says negative b, so that's the opposite of b, which is positive 6. Substitute the rest of the numbers in my formula. And then this part underneath the radical is equal to negative 324. Since it is a negative, we're going to take an I out, and it becomes 6 plus or minus I square root 324 divided by 2. So then the square root of 324 is 18. So we have 6 plus or minus I 18 over 2. I notice that I can reduce this, so I divide the 6 and the 18 by 2. And my answer is 3 plus or minus 9i. 3 asks you to graph the equation. So when you graph it, the only thing that I did was I broke this down, and I got 8 squared minus 10x plus 16. I did this so that I could find my axis of symmetry and my vertex. And then my y-intercept was 16. You also can put this in the calculator to check your graph to make sure it's graphed correctly. The vertex can also be taken from here, which would be opposite of this, which would be 5. And then this will be negative 9. So that will also be my vertex. And it's open upward. Number 4 asks you to look at the quadratic equation and find the vertex, x-intercepts, y-intercepts, and graph it. So for the vertex, we're going to do negative b over 2a. So that's negative 2 over 2 times negative 1, which gives me 1. So that's my x value. So to find the y value, we're going to substitute x equal 1 into our original equation, and we're going to get 1. So the vertex is 1, 1. For the x-intercepts, I'm going to factor the original problem. So I take out a negative x, parentheses, x minus 2 equals 0. So then set the negative x equal to 0, and then set x minus 2 equal to 0. Solve, and x equals 0, and x equals 2. Those are my x-intercepts. Y-intercept, we do not have a c value, so that would be 0, 0. And then you graph it, graph the vertex, x-intercept, y-intercept, and then you can always double check it in the calculator. Number 5 asks you to solve the following absolute value equation. Remember, you want it to be absolute value equal a number. So I added 16 to both sides, and I got 8y plus a equals 16. So then you're going to have 2 cases. First one, x is positive 16. And the second case, x is negative, y is negative 16. So then you solve both of them, and you get y is 1 and y is negative 3. Don't forget to go back in and check to make sure this works into your original equation. 6, you need absolute value equal a number. So I subtract 7 on both sides. Absolute value equal negative 3. Absolute value does not equal that negative number, so that is no solution. Number 7, you need absolute value greater than a number, so divide both sides by 3. And the 3's cancel out, and you got y plus 4 is greater than 4. You need 2 cases, so you will solve this one, and y is greater than 0. Solve this one, y is less than negative 8. I like to graph mine first. So it says y is greater than 0. So that's going to be a parentheses, graph to the right because it's greater than 0. This says y is less than -8, so it's graph to the left. And then you can use the parentheses or you can use the circles. Interval notation will be negative infinity to -8, union 0 to infinity. Number 8, hold up. Number 8 asks you to graph the function. So you can just graph it. Make sure that you have your 0 for this one. The domain will be negative infinity to infinity because you could put in negative and positive numbers. But the range will be 0 to infinity. It increases from -6 to infinity, and it decreases from negative infinity to -6. Don't forget to do your interval notation. Number 9.
No, I'm watching.
Okay. Number 9 is cube root of 2z minus 6 equal 2. So then I want z by itself, so I'm going to cube both sides. And I got 2z minus 6 equal 2 cubed is 8. Add 6 to both sides. Divide by 2, and z is equal to 7. Don't forget to plug it in to make sure it works. 10. Square root 5y plus 9 plus 6 equal y plus 5. Subtract the 6 from both sides. Square both sides. You get 5y plus 9 equal y squared minus 2y plus 1. I notice that this looks like it's going to be a quadratic, so I want one side to be equal to 0. Subtract 5y from both sides. You get 9 equal y squared minus 7y plus 1 minus 9 on both sides. So then you have a quadratic that you can factor. So I got y minus 8 equals 0. Add 8 to both sides. Y equal 8. Y plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. Y equal -1. Make sure you check your answers. When I plug them in, y equal -1 is extraneous. 8 is your answer. 11, you need to graph it. Domain is 0 to infinity. Range is 4 to infinity.